Kudos, everyone, if you found this channel. I talk about finance topics in the spirit of learning and growing together. Over the years, I've consumed a lot of podcast finance topics and learned a ton. Thought I'd join the community and share some of my own information that I've learned over time in an effort to help teach everyone. And they say um, you end up becoming like the 5 to 7 people that you hang out with most. And I think that's definitely a true statement. Um, I feel like I hang out with a lot of finance podcasters, um, and have absorbed a bunch of their information over time. So again, if you found this channel, you're seeking something that the average person doesn't. So kudos to you. Today, for fun, I thought I'd share um, some information about two investments that I made. One of them I consider my worst investment, and the other one I consider my best investment. And so I thought I'd discuss those, and then kind of the information or the things that I learned from these two investments. And so I thought that would just be fun. And I guess in the end, I guess as you're thinking, for the sense of the community, let me know what your best and worst investments are, the lessons you may have learned in the comments below. So my best investment is a stock ticker that I consider that's FTAI. And this isn't the stock that I've made the most money from, but it's the one that has grown more than any other. So at one point, this investment went up 1,000%, which is, I guess, as Peter Lynch would call it, a 10-bagger. And that was really fun and exciting to see. I didn't know a lot about this stock originally when I bought it. They do avionics repairs of some kind. I learned about it from a finance podcast that I was listening to. Someone mentioned it. I looked into it a bit, found that it had a nice dividend at the time. It was something different than the other things that I had invested in. So in the end of 2022, I bought about $2,500 worth of stock, got 155 shares, and just kind of left it in my portfolio as, hey, this is just another thing I've invested in. I probably should have done more homework on it, but I didn't. So it just kind of sat in my portfolio, and it just kept growing. I didn't really pay much attention to it. But then, circling back, kind of reviewing all the different stocks that I had, I noticed, hey, there's a really big gain in this particular stock. And one of the strategies that you can do if you get a big gain in something is, if it goes up, if you get a 100% gain, you can sell half of it so that you get your initial investment back again, and then just let the rest ride. I don't think I got to this one when it had just doubled. It might have gone up 200% or 300% by the time I got to it. But I originally put $2,500 into the stock, and at some point I sold $2,700 of it, just a small portion, and then got my original investment out, and then it just kind of stayed there. But the thing kept going up, and every once in a while I would come across and go, hey, I should probably take a few gains in the stock and pull a little bit more out. And then eventually the shares got to be worth about $10,000. And I said, this is kind of ridiculous. You look back, I'm like, hey, if I hadn't sold, this would be worth even more. But just to be prudent, I took some gains. And then every time it would go above $10,000, I'd sell a little bit of it off again. And I did this over and over again, which was, just kind of interesting. So I've got a thing pop up here I got to hit. So it was fun harvesting the gains, and eventually, so I had pulled out about $9,700 from the stock that I originally put 2,500 in, and today I still have like 7,900 in it. That 7,900 had been worth $10,000, but what's interesting is the company got kind of what is it, found out for doing some accounting gimmicks and something else, and so they pulled off their high. They haven't got back to that. So I still own like $7,900 worth of shares. I harvested 9,700 from an original $2,500 investment. So it had gone up to as much as 1,000% of an increase. Now it's kind of down somewhere between the 700 and 800% range. So it's just very interesting. It's fun to have a high payer like this. And originally I bought it for the dividends, and the company still pays those dividends. I think I made about $340 over the past couple of years from the dividend from this stock that I originally put in $2,500. So that's a lot of fun. And I guess the thing that I learned from this is that a good investment can, change your whole overall portfolio and do good for you, but also that management shenanigans can hit any stock. And so it's super important to have good leadership in a company. And if there's a whiff of wrongdoing, getting out of that thing can protect your losses, because this has come down 30% from its high or something. I don't know exactly the issues that were going on. I think they were double booking profits or something, but it's not good. So that's something to learn, that even a good stock can be tripped up by bad doings by the management. So on the flip side, my worst investment, and this I consider to be my worst because of the percent losses. Now, I have had a couple stocks that have gone completely bankrupt. I think a half decade ago, I invested in something called China Medical, which was in that time where like various companies were merging with some China companies to, it was basically a scam that I found out now that, folks had a sniff of money and they figured out a way to kind of combine companies and scam people. Basically, I didn't lose a lot. I think I'd only invested $1,000 in that one at the time, but uh, you know, so that was like 100% loss. But I guess the second worst one, I invested in a company called I think it's called B&G Foods. The ticker is BGS. And again, this was kind of in the 2021, 2022 timeframe, and I learned about this company. Seemed like a good idea at the time. They make shelf-stable foods. Had a decent dividend. I thought, hey, that sounds, safe. I own Kraft and Flowers Foods, and just some others that seem to be just a normal type of company. But this one has been a terrible loser that's just gone down and down and down over time, and it's been an awful investment. It's down 85% since I purchased it. So that is a tremendous gain. Now, part of the reason why it's my worst loser is because I put a lot of money into this one. I had an original investment, and then as it went down, I'd end up buying a little bit more, thinking, hey, it can't go down forever, right? It's got to come back up again. As the stock went down, the dividend yield went up. So I'm like, hey, I get this good dividend. It's probably going to come back because, hey, what can go wrong with a foods company? And everything went wrong with it, apparently. So that's something. This is called a classic dividend trap, where you buy into a company because you think it's got a good dividend, you believe the company will stay strong, but it just doesn't. So I lost 85% on this. I put originally, I think, about $15,000 into this stock over the course of time, and today it's worth about $2,300. So that's a painful loss. I kind of keep it in my portfolio. I figure maybe some dividends will make up from it over time, but it kind of reminds me every time I come across it, the mistakes that I made, and like, hey, don't do that again. This is a dividend trap. You get caught with these things. So painful lesson, and losing 85% in a stock, that's tremendous. So what is that? It's like I lost $13,000 in this stock. So that's painful, but it's a good life lesson. Now, to try to, if that stock were ever to break even again, it would have to increase 580%. So for a stock like B&G Foods, that is just never going to happen. So I have booked this loss. It's still on my stock records. I don't know. Maybe the company will go bankrupt at some point. It's down so much. It has, paid a little bit of in dividends over time, but it's been a miserable stock. Um, so from this, I've learned you got to be careful about dividend traps, and they can be extremely painful. So don't just buy a company for the sake that, hey, the dividend looks good. Even what appears to be a stable type of company may not be. And had I put an even larger percentage of my funds into this one, would have been a much harsher penalty. So I guess in this case, diversification worked. It was um, a small percentage of my overall portfolio, and definitely over time has become an even smaller percentage over time. But that, by spreading out my funds over lots of different things, this is um, hasn't been as much of a damage. But if you contrast these two different investments, one of them I've made about $15,000, including dividends, with FTAI. B&G Foods, I lost $13,000. My best and worst investments. It's kind of interesting that the two sort of cancel each other out. And one of the lessons might be that, hey, if you're investing, some good winners have the ability to overwhelm your losers. So, in the case of getting a 10 bagger in something you put a small amount in, it kind of wiped out the losses in something that I invested way too much in that was a loss. So that's a positive for investing. You can only lose 100% of what you put in, but in theory, there's no limits to how much a gain could be. So in this case, getting 1,000% return swamped the losses of 85%. So something to kind of know about. It's a good pep talk for the sake of, hey, let's keep finding good investments out there, because you never know which of your investments might be the next 1,000% gain for yourself. And by playing the overall game, you have at least the opportunity to have good gains like this. So I'm curious, for you guys that are coming across the video, if you've made it this long, what have been your best and worst stocks? What lessons have you learned from them? What are your success stories? What are your failures? And thought we'd all kind of learn together as I shared a couple of mine. I got 1,000% gain in one and a loss of 85% in another, and thought that'd be interesting to talk about today. We'll see you. Bye.